So I had an interesting case today. We had a patient who a partner of mine in the past had been seeing for a benign stricture in the duodenal bulb, and he had treated it with an Axios stent. He removed it after about 4 months, and the patient did really well. But 9 months later, she came back with recurrent symptoms and a stomach that was 4 times the size of normal per radiology. Here you see me using a therapeutic gastroscope. We're looking at it. You see an ulcer at the pyloric area, and there was a lot of food debris as seen previously in the images of in the stomach. So I got the scope right to the area that I wanted to, past the guide wire, through the strictured area. And note that I could not get a therapeutic scope or a regular gastroscope through that area, despite my best efforts. As you can see, the guide wires now being passed, and then we passed an ERCP balloon, 15-18 balloon over below injection, and you can see a dilated or regularly normal sized duodenal loop there, and the balloon does not pass through the stricture and it gets stuck, and it confirms that it's a very small and short stricture. I was a little nervous about the ulcer, but I felt like if we could bridge this, then that would allow the ulcer to get at least protected from a lot of the food debris. So I'm passing an Axios stent here. This is a 20 millimeter by 10 millimeter stent. Just taking a little bit of manipulation to get it over the guide wire properly. Once I get it to an area that I'm happy with, I deploy it. And this is a little bit challenging because it doesn't actually screw on to the gastroscope like it does on the EUS scope. So you have to kind of have a tech that you trust to hold everything the right way. Once we get it in there, we deploy the distal flange, and then I slowly pull it back. And this was probably for me the most stress-provoking portion of the procedure, because I didn't want to deploy it on the distal side of the stricture, but then also I didn't want to pull it over. Now, I've had success in the past of putting it back into a therapeutic scope and pushing it out, but I just wanted to deploy it correctly the first time. And fortunately, you see that happening here. You see a flood of the food going back in, and one person could argue, like, well, why didn't you clean the stomach out before? Well, the patient had been in the hospital and hadn't been eating for 2 weeks, and I felt like we could safely do it. So on this final image, you're going to see me just looking through the stent. It hasn't completely opened up yet or dilated, but hopefully she does well, and I will go from there. Alternative to this procedure would be an edge procedure, but she wasn't ready for that today.